Well, good morning and welcome back. I hope you're all fighting fit and well. Today I've come to a location that's been on my bucket list for some time, and it's quite funny. I only live about 15 minutes away from this magnificent waterfall here, and it's deep in a gully, and I'm surrounded by just magnificent bush, and just behind you there is what we call a glowworm tunnel, and of a night people come down here with to have a look at these glowworms in these tunnels through here. This is a pristine part of the Blue Mountains, and to do it justice, I think you have to come here many times, and I have been here in the past, but I think I've missed a few things, a few compositional opportunities. But on my right here we have these massive sandstone cliffs, or bush rock, massive rock, and trees. These trees are thousands of years old here, and there's an embankment down here. The falls are over there. You can actually walk behind the falls from the glowworm tunnel, and it just really is a spectacular place. Now, last time I was here, which was, I would say, a good couple of years ago, the place was crawling with brown snakes, eastern brown snakes. Now, as it's getting colder here, as you can see I've got a jumper on, as it's getting colder here in the mountains, the snakes obviously curl up and sleep for 3 months, a bit like teenagers, you know. So I don't have any fear of snakes with me. I do have a snake bite kit with me whenever I come into these places, and I'm wearing the boots. So I think the shots I'll get today will be pretty good. We've got the fuse lighting up the top. They did predict rain this morning. It was very overcast and foggy here, but the actual scenery here, once I get down into that gully, I've got probably a 50-metre drop down there that I've got to get down to and start creating some nice images. But one of the reasons why I have come out here today is to talk to you about a subject which I don't often hear people talk about. In actual fact, I don't hear people talk about it at all, and that is creating emotion in your images. In other words, when you take a photograph and someone's viewing that photograph, you want them to feel some sort of an emotion or an attachment to that image. And today I'm going to give you a few points, a few hints and a few tips as to how you can create emotion in your images, which I think is, besides composition and light, creating emotion in your images, I think it's very, very important. So we'll get started and we'll go down. Okay, I think I found the first composition of the morning, and I'll do both orientations, landscape and portrait. It is quite chaotic in the base of the waterfall over here. We have these massive logs that have come down over the years, and really it hasn't all that changed that much here from the last time I was here, except the snakes. So what I'll do, I'll set the camera up on the tripod, and then I'll start to take a few of these images. And as we go along, I'll show you exactly what I'm doing, and also how to create a motion in your images, which I think, as I said earlier, is very, very important. So we'll get started. Okay, this is the first shot of the morning here. Now what I've done, I've actually darkened the back of the live view screen on the Canon on the camera so you can see it. Now as you can see here, there's a few elements here that could be distracting, but I'm going to incorporate it into the scene. The first thing you'll notice, I've got this massive big boulder here on my left hand side covered in moss. Then there's this huge tree trunk that's fallen down. It's been here for many years, I'm led to believe, and that's running down the side of that rock down into the bottom right hand corner of the frame. Now in essence you could probably clone that out in Photoshop, but I'm going to leave it, and the reason why I'm going to leave it is because it's creating an atmosphere or a bit of emotion when somebody looks at it. And this is what I'm saying about emotion. You want the people to feel that they're actually here next to me taking the shot. So I'm going to leave all these bits and pieces in the image. I know we always go down the path of trying to have a clean image and everything in its place, but in some instances like this, as you can see with the rock and the fallen log here, I'm going to leave it because that actually tells me that this place is very, very old. It's almost, well, it's prehistoric, this area, and that's what I call by creating emotion. You leave things in the image so you can convey to the viewer that, geez, this is an old place and I really wouldn't mind going there. You've got to make the person looking at your image to feel something. And it doesn't matter how well you compose the image or what sort of camera you're using. If you're unable to create emotion and put emotion into your image, well then basically you've just taken another image. So the idea is to really create that emotion by leaving certain elements in the picture. Okay, I've now switched the camera over to portrait mode. Now, if you can see, I've tried to darken the screen again. Right in the middle of the shot, there's what we call hot spot. In other words, the sun and the light is hitting the back of the cave. Now, in some respects, that could be a bit distracting. However, what this scene is all about is it's old, it's virtually prehistoric, and once again I'm trying to create emotion. But there is probably light in this tunnel. So by leaving that in, I could easily clone it out, of course, but leaving it in, as you can see, with the sun or the light hitting the back of the cave, of the glowworm cave, it's creating like an emotion for people. It means that there is light here, and light does get into the tunnel. There's light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So I'm going to leave that in, and that's just, I don't think it's as distracting from the image, but because there's a lot going on, as you can see, got the rocks, that big log again, and the water. And I've actually had to bracket the shot here. I've taken 3 shots, one of the foreground, one of the midground with that light in the back of the cave, with the tunnel, and the water itself. And then I'll blend them together in Photoshop, only because I don't want to blow out the highlight in the water. So sometimes you have to do that. And I've actually had to raise my ISO up to 200 from 50 or 100 just to get the exposure right. And as I'm always shooting in manual, as you can see, the light meter is working there. And if I keep on getting it in the middle, it's giving me about a 6-second exposure, as you can see. But this is what it's about, and this is what I mean by creating emotion. Put something in the image or leave it in there for the viewer to really grasp and to get them to think, well, what a beautiful place, I'd love to be here, or as I said earlier, it's as if they've been standing next to you. So creating emotion in your image or in your images, I think is very, very important. So we'll take this shot. Two-second timer, everything's in focus. I have the circular polarizer working, cranked up to about 30%, and we'll see how that comes out. So creating emotion is, I believe, very important, and there it is. It's a bit too bright on the video camera, but you'll see it at the end of this video. Okay, as you can see, I've changed locations. I've come down off the top part of the waterfall here, and I'm shooting through this gully here. It's quite a chaotic scene, but once again, I'm trying to create emotion. I'm trying to show people how virtually prehistoric this area is by leaving all these elements in the image. I'm trying to, as I said, I'm trying to convey a message to the people looking at these images that this is prehistoric, and I want that emotion to come through in the image when people are looking at them. So it's all about trying to take shots that are not as clean or not as pristine as some people try and make it. Now, I know for a fact a lot of people would probably try and clone all this out. That's not really the way to go. I mean, sure, if you want to do that, that's fine, but this is all about emotion and creating emotion in your images by leaving everything in and getting the people thinking, and don't just let that. What that does, they'll look at the image and they'll keep looking at it. They won't flick through and look at others. So you've got to capture the imagination of the viewer, and the only way you can do that is by adding emotion. And then how do you do that? By photographing things like this and leaving a lot of, well, foreground element or a bit of chaos in your images. Okay, I've actually changed position for the final time this morning, and the scene I'm trying to create here, I have these rocks, and I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you. I have these rocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's quite a few large boulders here leading up to the base of the waterfall. We still have that big rock on the left hand side covered in moss, and part of that big tree trunk that has fallen down over the years. Once again, it's I'm trying to create a chaotic prehistoric scene here, which that's what it is. And once again, I'm trying to create emotion by not eliminating, but adding or making sure that there's certain elements that I want in this image to create the emotion of being a very old and prehistoric place, and that's basically what it is. And I'm trying to convey that in my image, or my images, with emotion. And if you could do that with all your photography, I think you're on your way to really taking some beautiful images and making people stop and look at them. Just don't let them glance at them. But if you create emotion in your image, I think you'll find that people will stand up and take a bit more notice of your quality work. So I'll take this shot, I'll get the video camera and I'll turn it around and I'll show you exactly what I'm photographing for the final time here this morning. Okay, so this is the last scene of the morning, and as you can see, I've included a bit of foreground element for emotion and obviously composition. So if you have a look closely at this, you'll see that I've got rocks here, rocks, a big boulder with the tree trunk fallen down, then the pool, and then the waterfall itself. You'll notice that the sky is blown out. Well, I'm going to crop the sky out in camera. Even though I have the circular polarizer on, it's still not quite enough. And I don't particularly like to have sky in my waterfall images. I prefer to have the water and crop the sky out if I can. Just makes your exposure a bit easier. I won't have to photo stack or image blend this with different exposures. I'm going to take one exposure here, and that'll be it for the morning. So yeah, I'll take this shot and we'll see what it comes up like. It should be okay. I'll do it once again in, well, I'll do it in both. I'll do it in portrait and landscape orientation, this shot. I think it deserves that. So we'll take it and we'll see what it looks like. Well, that's it, guys. That's another episode of Sniper Photography here in the beautiful Blue Mountains. I'm about another 10 minutes from the car. Just got a slight uphill climb up here. But that's all about, the video today was all about creating emotion in your images and making sure that the viewer is captivated by your photographs or images. And by not eliminating things in the image, especially with landscape photography, you can create some form of emotion for the viewer who's viewing your photographs and images. Over a period of time, you will get better at this, there's no doubt. Just look for, during your composition, look for other elements that you might think I might take out, but try and leave them in. Because sometimes with photography, technically perfect isn't perfect. And please remember that. Technically perfect sometimes isn't perfect. So that's what it was all about today. Creating emotion in your photography, especially your landscape photography, or you can use that for any photography you like. So that's it for another episode. If you're new here to this channel, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and the bell next door so you don't miss anything. The next video I'll be doing will be close to the coast actually, around about Botany Bay in New South Wales, and we all know that what Botany Bay is famous for. Captain James Cook, the only Englishman, the only English captain to tour Australia and never play a test match. How's that? So until next time, as I always say, keep smiling, keep shooting, take care of yourself, and bye for now.